and somebody from the Labour side who is prepared to stick his head above the parapet, and respect to him accordingly. Graham Stringer, MP for Blackley and Middleton South. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
The front page of a Labour-supporting newspaper, the headline screams out, "It's over for Starmer, say Labour MPs amid fury over Mandelson." It's all over, isn't it, Graham Stringer?
I think it's now a question of when, not if. In effect, by the Commons, including vast majority of Labour MPs, refusing to vote for the amendment that the Prime Minister put forward, although technically it wasn't. In fact, that was a vote of no confidence. And it's very difficult to see in a relatively short period of time how the Prime Minister can stay on after the shambles that was yesterday. The real question that Labour MPs have to answer is not just that the Prime Minister has made too many mistakes, which he has. It is how is he replaced and by whom?
Where do you sit on that? I mean, we had the Community Secretary Steve Reid on Sky this morning. I want to play this to you. He said, this isn't your Prime Minister's fault at all. Let's just listen to Steve Reid if we can, Graham.
All that's happened here, it's dreadful what has happened here, but Peter Mandelson lied not only to the Prime Minister, he lied to the Prime Minister's entire team. He's betrayed the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, he's betrayed two Prime Ministers, and he's betrayed the country.
So
now,
has he betrayed Morgan McSweeney? Is that what you're saying?
He lied to everybody. And now what people need to see the extent to which he lied, and that will happen as these documents are released so people can see.
Can you answer the question? Is Morgan McSweeney safe in his job?
Yes, of course he is. The problem when someone lies isn't that they lie to you, because there can be liars in any walk of life. It's what happens when you find out you've been lied to. And what the Prime Minister did months ago was contact Peter Mandelson at 5 a.m. in the morning and sack him on the spot from his job as US ambassador.
Graham, I take it that you and a majority of colleagues on the backbenches don't buy what Steve Reid is saying.
There's two issues about the Prime Minister's judgment over the last 24 hours. One is how he dealt with the Commons. Everybody makes mistakes. Journalists make mistakes. Politicians make mistakes. He made a mistake in appointing Mandelson as the ambassador to the United States. He should have said at the beginning yesterday that he'd made a mistake. He knew what he knew, and it would have given the Commons and those Labour MPs who were going to support him an opportunity to say, well, he's fessed up. We know what's going on, and he's agreed to put forward the documents. In actual fact, he gave a victory to the Leader of the Opposition, who nailed him on whether he knew of the continuing relationship with Mandelson. And the Labour MPs didn't support or believe that we were going to get all the documentation around that. So in one very important debate, he failed twice.
I mean, it's really interesting. You described it as it's a grave error of judgment, but within the wider view, and I don't say this actually with any joy, because I respect, and I mean this, I utterly respect you, Graham, for coming on. I know you're a man that does your job for your constituents. You know, I don't mean this the wrong way. You're not one of them high-flying Islington lot. You're what I used to call a proper Labour MP. When you look, Graham, at this scandal, when you look at how U-turn after U-turn has impacted on the popularity of a party who 18 months ago got in with the biggest majority post-war, is this a Labour Party you recognise?
It's certainly a Labour Party that's changed. I mean, there's two questions there. Our government shouldn't make as many mistakes as this government has made. I mean, people talk a bit about U-turns. I've wanted most of those U-turns. It's the original decision, the original mistakes that shouldn't have happened. And there comes a limit to how many mistakes a government can make and continue as it is. I think some of those mistakes show that they're not the priorities that previous governments would have made. If you take the Chagos Island, for instance, which is something that deeply annoys me, we're going to find, 35 billion to pay for something that we own. That's incredible. I don't believe the previous Labour governments would have done that. And if you come to one of the core issues that annoy Labour voters, the clue's in the name of the Labour Party. I think that everybody who possibly can deserves the dignity of work and to get a job if it is at all possible. This party announced, my party announced, I think last week, that we were no longer going to look at changing the benefit system in a way that would give people a better chance to get jobs. I think that a measure of any Labour government is how many people it can get into jobs and get off benefits. People want that, the public want that, and we're not doing it.
Is this Labour Party still the party for you? Have you thought about defecting to Reform, my friend?
I get asked that regularly on programmes because I agree with Reform on Europe and one or two other things. I don't agree with them fundamentally, the direction it's going, so there's no chance I would join Reform. And my party has changed. There are some of the policies that it has that I don't like. They're not the policies. For instance, cancelling local elections, I think, is embarrassing and outrageous. That's not something a Labour Party should be doing. But I joined the Labour Party, not agreeing with every policy it had and wanting to improve it, and that's still my position. If I left the Labour Party every time I disagreed with a single policy, I'd have left the Labour Party almost as soon as I joined it.
I know you well enough to know from your demeanour, you're a very honest guy, and that's why I said it. I genuinely mean that, but I can tell from your demeanour that things have changed immeasurably. Two questions for you, my friend. How long does Starmer last? You started by saying it's not if, it's when. How long does he last?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to put a figure on that. I think the next crisis point for him is the Denton and Gorton by-election, Gorton and Denton by-election. But the real crisis point, I think, will come after the local elections if they're as bad as people expect. But I mean, predicting the future is a mug's game.
Yesterday, Angela Rayner, who had to resign because she hadn't paid stamp duty, led the charge. She stood up in a very controlled way and said that there should be more transparency with the release of those papers over the Mandelson debacle. There's no doubt that people are on manoeuvres. I haven't seen hide nor hair of Ed Miliband. To many on the right in this country, the thought of Miliband or Rayner is even more frightening than Keir Starmer. But it would be fair to ask you this. If not him, whom?
I don't know. I mean, it's a real dilemma. If you go through most of the contenders that you will know as well as I do, they've nearly all got away with the majorities. And it's not a good look for a leader of a party who's really, he or she is concerned about their own survival. So I think the Labour Party's got a genuine difficulty in who it chooses and how they choose them. If possible, we want to avoid the shambles that was the Conservative Party in the last government, where they kept changing the leader. The elections were chaotic, and they ended up with a historic thrashing in the last general election.
But you would be in agreement if I described him as a dead man walking.
It's not a phrase I would use, but I understand what you mean, yes.
Final question, which so many people, and the texting saying respect to Graham Stringer, because you represent your constituency, you're not sat in Islington. Here's a question for you. Nobody that listens to this, myself included, can understand how a man like Mandelson can have survived so many scandals and have survived for so long. Can I ask you a question? I think he's going to prison. On the way down, he presumably must have muck on everybody. Do you fear that he'll squeal and other Labour high-ranking people will be brought to task?
I don't think I can answer that, not because I'm avoiding it, because I don't know the answer. What I would say is he deserves due process like everybody. One of the disturbing things yesterday was that he was presumed guilty, and there's a lot of evidence that looks pretty bad, but the police are looking at it, and he does deserve due process. Whether any other senior figures in British society, including the Labour Party, are included, I don't know. I would have no way of knowing that.
Listen, it's an absolute pleasure, and I mean that. You know, I respect you. And for people tuning in who are not Labour supporters, some are, you know, you had the decency to stick your head above the parapet, which very few people in the Labour Party have done, and I respect you for that, Graham. Thank you so much indeed. Graham Stringer, MP.